Alright, so we're here in our review. We got a test coming up kind of mode. So you can avoid seeing my daughter's mess in here. So with this practice test, I went through, got all of the most missed questions. These are the ones I have. Oh, hello, Finn. These are the ones. 9, 11, 17, 19, 22, 31, 32, 40, 46, and 52. Those are the ones that scored underneath 60% of students getting those correct on this practice test, which isn't that bad. Now, there is a difference in this one and the last practice test we did. Last practice test, they kind of grouped. There were some documents that we really didn't understand. So we had 3 or 4 most missed questions together, and then you had another group, 2 or 3. This one, except I think one document, they're all spread out. So let's go ahead and jump in there and take a look at them, because I don't want this to take all night. I have another video to do for you. So 9, let's take a look at 9. 9 dealt with this picture, and I'm pretty sure that 9, the reason why you got it wrong was it was too small. No worries on the AP test. It's going to be a full booklet. Anything they ask you is going to be clear. With this one, I think the key thing is you had to know that that was a teapot that they were pouring down this guy's throat. A boiling hot tea. They're basically pouring it down his throat. If you were able to do that, I think you can make the connection more to this being the Tea Act rather than something like the Stamp Act. So for 9, the correct answer is C. The one that got the most answers was A, followed by B. But again, I think this was a lot of confusion because you couldn't see that it was a teapot. But the thing here is they're trying to get us to buy tea we don't want. So in the background, you can actually see the Boston Tea Party going on as well. Buying tea that we don't want or we don't want to pay the tax on. So it's kind of forcing us to do this. So C is opposition to increasing attempts by the British government to consolidate imperial control over American markets. Markets being places where we buy and sell goods. Alright, so I think that one, if we cleared it up, knew that it was tea, y'all would have gotten it. 11, let's take a look at 11. Same document though. I think this is the only one we had like this. There may be another one that I'm forgetting later. Alright, the underlying economic issues depicted above most closely resemble those of, and again, if you understood that this is tea, and that Britain is trying to force us to buy tea to prop up one of their companies, the British East India Company, that they are controlling and trying to protect their British East India Company, I think more people would have gotten the right answer. Most people, or more than 50%, got this one right, but this one is definitely going to be D down here, the opposition to federal protectionism in support of growing industries. This is essentially like the tariff issue. We are going to try to protect certain factories from foreign competition, the same way that Britain is going to try to protect their East India Company from competition and making sure that they're propped up with an American market. Alright, deep breath time. Let's see. 17. Alright, so 17 is dealing with Plunkett of Tammany Hall. And Tammany Hall automatically should spring into your mind political corruption, dirty politics, late 1800s, early 1900s. This guy is about as sleazy as possible. Alright, so with this one, we're taking a look at this, and he's talking about how he's just helping everybody out, and they will vote for him because he's kind of scratched their back. Now they'll scratch his. For 17, which of the following explains the circumstances that led to the growth of powerful individuals like Plunkett and the organization of Tammany Hall? Most people did get this one right. We need to get a little bit more. And it seemed like there was just wholesale confusion. If you didn't know the answer, there wasn't another that was distracting you. It just was wholesale confusion because it was basically even divided between the other two. So this one's going to be A. unequal access to political power among the urban poor, and so they're going to latch on to a powerful individual promising them things. 19. Yeah, there is another one. Alright, so 19. The system described in the passage would be most directly challenged by. A lot of people went with trade unions here. In fact, more people went with trade unions than the actual right answer. Alright, so the right answer is going to be the rise of civil service reform. Alright, so challenging this system where politicians are essentially giving favors out and getting votes in return, and being able to control government jobs, not based on somebody's ability to do that job, but on giving them votes, that is going to be done away with certain things with civil service reform. So the most notable, alright, Chairman, most notable is going to be the Pendleton Act, which is going to create the civil service exams. One second, let me let the cat out. In the back. Alright, the civil service reform, the civil service exams, making sure that people are qualified for the jobs that they're given, not that some politician is just trying to get their vote. So that was 19. 22. Alright, all the conflicts described. Alright, what are we dealing with here? Oh, the King William's War one. Alright, so all the conflicts described in this passage stem from imperial competition. Yet most people just wanted to go along their daily life, right? Grow their crops, cut their trees, and then export that to England. So that's going to be the big one. Again, this one, you either got it or it was just complete confusion. Alright, 31. Moving right on along here. Oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, this one. Maybe I was wrong at the beginning. There were a couple that we were confused about with the documents. Alright, so this one, we just got to take a look at this chart or a graph and see if we can understand it. We got U.S. national debt. We see basically exponential rise in the debt, really starting in 1980 and not slowing down. Slowed down a little bit during the Clinton years. Remember, that's when we're going to have a balanced budget. But ever since then, we've not had a balanced budget. So it's just steadily increased in both Democratic and Republican administrations, right? This is George Bush, and then we're going to have the Obama years after this, right? Clinton is going to get the peak a little bit down, starting in 1980 though. Alright, so let's take a look at the questions. And again, these really focus on wars and how they relate and correspond to increases in the debt. Alright, so 31. Which of the following groups would most strongly condemn the trend depicted in this graph? So we got either Democratic congressional leaders or B, civil rights, or no. C or A. So we got Democratic congressional leaders or American conservatives. The big thing here is going to be the runaway debt. Right? Conservatives, they're tight with their money. They don't want to spend it on a lot of different things. So this idea that we're running up a debt for these businessmen, part of the Republican Party, that's concerning to them. And that's why this one is going to be C. (32) We have which of the following conclusions is best supported by the graph. Again, most people, or more than half of people, got this one right. We're just trying to clear it up because it wasn't like 80% got this right. All right, so with 32, this one is either going to be between A or C is what kind of people we're taking a look at. C, we have American involvement in foreign conflicts has generally hurt domestic economic interest. And then A, periods of economic instability and international involvement promote the growth of the national government. C, we know, is an outright fallacy, mainly because even though we are going to have higher debt after World War II, we know the economy flies in the late 40s and 50s. Right? So that one doesn't even really kind of come about. Also, if you take a look at the Vietnam War, that spending doesn't really add a whole lot to the debt. Neither does the Korean War. The big thing here is going to be that economic instability, international involvement promote the growth of the national government. Right? More instability means more spending generally, and even more instability after the fall of the Soviet Union. Right? We have much more responsibility now. We're going to be spending a lot more money, especially militarily. All right, 40. All right, 40, we got the farewell address. You should see a theme. I think somebody pointed it out today that they like the farewell address a lot. And they do, because it hits a lot of different things. But with this one, we're taking a look at question 40. What central idea from Washington's address brought most sharply into focus by the French Revolution? Radicalism here. All right, we're split, and there's good reason why we're split on this one, because it is kind of close. We got C and A. All right, A, an alliance with European powers would force the United States into wars it was ill-prepared to fight. Or C, foreign political and social developments had the power to divide the United States internally. And yes, there could be some idea about the alliance, but this isn't really talking about the alliance with France as much as the French Revolution being very messy, and us having to pick sides as who we supported in this. So that's going to go more towards that divide, Democrat, Republican, Federalist. Also, for Washington himself, he's seen this very clearly in his administration. Remember, he had the Citizen Genet incident when a French person is going to try to come into the United States and rouse up Americans to go fight for fraternity and equality and liberty with the French radicals and protect them versus all of the European powers trying to beset the new republic. So he's had some real specific experience with this issue. But that one definitely is going to be C. All right, 46. All right, which of the following explains the way in which Cold War policies of Ronald Reagan were a departure from the ideas explained in the passage? In the passage, it talks about there being a nuanced kind of gap with third world countries and them trying to, there's an opportunity for communism to start, put a seed, but that gap is really, or that opportunity is really small, and that people had taken a look at this way. This foreign policy that's developed is about trying to close off that period completely from being able to plant that communist seed. Reagan, I think the two that we have are A and C again. It talks about Reagan was a departure. He's not cordial. If there's one thing to describe Reagan's foreign policy, is it's aggressive. I think in another kind of practice test, they use the term aggressive and bellicose or bellicosity. He's in your face. He's calling them the evil empire. He's not talking about these little. He's not saying howdy, how you doing, how's your family. He's basically slapping you in the face and calling you the evil empire. Cordial diplomacy is not Reagan, right? But he is going to build up the American military. So we're not talking about these little delicate games about trying to prevent the spread of communism in the third world country, but just making it seem like we're the nice guy for that 3-4 months, and then we've solidified. We're basically going after the Soviet Union directly. We're challenging them to match our military spending. And finally, I think it's finally, yep, 52. 52 is dealing with Stephen Ambrose. He's talking about our build-up to World War II's beginning and how we're going to be much more prepared for World War II than we were for World War I. And that's because we start building up the military a little bit earlier than when we actually enter the war. We're not caught as flat-footed as people make it seem with Pearl Harbor. Yes, we didn't see, well, we did kind of see it coming. We didn't know the attack was happening there, but we aren't completely miffed here. All right, we already have been building up our military. We know something's going to happen sometime. All right, so we got between C and B here for 52. I was talking about direct results. And we have the end of the Great Depression and the development and eventual use of the atomic bomb. What he's talking about is preparing us for war, building up the military, building tanks, building ships. It's much more of getting more people in jobs, building the weapons of war than a small amount of scientists working on the Manhattan Project. So this is really going to be the end of the Great Depression, this wartime spending pulling us out of that issue. All right, so this was a little bit longer than I thought, but it's still well within your ability to watch pretty quickly. All right, and look out for a court review as well.